to start. Nice. Hi, everyone. So, welcome to Science. Well, I guess here's your first introduction to what ScienceMind is, and I'm going to tell you all about it. And so, let's see if this loads. So, ScienceMind, I guess, is ScienceMind is King's College London's science magazine. It's officially the science magazine of the university now. There's been quite a bit of competition to get to this point, but we're here now. And we've got issues in the bottom right. You can see sort of where the website is going to eventually be. Still working on that. But you can read all the rest of our previous. So that's quite cool. And so for those of you who weren't able to make it to the fair, or maybe you just haven't seen a recent release, this is our summer 2021 issue. And you can just scan the QR code here, and I think it should take you to the issue page, and you can read it as a physical magazine, basically, but online instead. And so you might be wondering, so this is the summer version, right? So what is the next month's version going to look like? So obviously next month is Halloween. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a kind of Halloween themed cover. And so it's still sciencey, but it's blood is kind of synonymous with Halloween and stuff like that. You can see in the top right that it says the 31st of October at 4 p.m., which is when we plan on having it released. And obviously it's kind of a cool cover. I think it make for a great Halloween inspired release. And I think there'll be about 100 copies that'll be printed is the idea. And so you might have seen our flyers as well. You might have seen them being handed out at the Freshers Fair. We've got quite a few more.
Sorry for being late.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I said sorry for coming in late.
No worries, Jabari. And so here are the flyers that we were handing out, basically just kind of self-explanatory. And I guess you should know that we do indeed submit our publications over to the Student Publication Awards. So the Student Publication Association is sort of the charity. It's a registered charity that basically holds these competitions every year. There's the regionals, which happen in London for us, and then you've got the nationwide competitions, which we entered last year, and we got shortlisted, if you can see on the left. And we didn't win, but we are confident that we could probably get the best science publication this year. And so I guess what you might be interested in is how can I get involved, and what kind of teams are available for me to join. So I'll go over what the admin team is. So this is basically the committee. These were some of these were elected positions, and some of these were, by application form. And the way that you apply for these might change in future. But this is the committee for this year. And so, of course, me at the bottom is the editor-in-chief, myself, Andres. We have Rosa, who is the deputy editor-in-chief. We have the events officer, Leia. We have the sponsorship coordinator, Zeta. And we have our treasurer, Olivera. And so I guess to preface, if, for example, you have any editing concerns, if you're an editor or you want to be one, you can report to Jabari, who will be in the chat as well. And he can help you with editing articles and deciding on, difficulties for different articles and stuff like that when it comes to publishing time. And of course, Zara, who isn't here today, can help you with designing articles and the Instagram posts. She's the media lead. And then, of course, we have Chitana, who's the well-being lead, and she can help you with any well-being concerns. And so, yeah. So I'll go into the writing team right now. And so basically what it is that as a writer, you'll be part of the writing team. And it's basically the same as the general chat. So it's not too different. So basically, so as a writer, you get to choose to write a 300 to 500 word article, and that can be on any STEM topic of your choosing. And you usually get about 2 weeks to do this. If you imagine, we release monthly, so yeah, 2 weeks out of the month I think is quite appropriate. And we usually ask that people do it on Google Documents, and this just makes it easier for the editors. We suggest that you use mybib.com using the APA 7 style. And you basically just put in the diagrams, the references for the diagrams you've taken for the articles that at the bottom. And then also, if you've taken things from like a paper, like if you're talking about a specific discovery that you found in a scientific paper, we would like that you could reference that too. And that just makes it easier for us as well. And so, yeah, we don't really have a specific writing style, and we're quite happy for you to develop your own one. If you can imagine, it's quite a creative task. So we're very happy for people to be able to just, write however there is. We don't really care about if you've written before. That's not really any of our concern. We're really just here to help you sort of, I guess, give more opportunities for people to write if they want to do that. And the articles are going to be in several categories. So we have shallow dive, which is an easy mode. And that's basically just a general overview of stuff. So like which COVID-19 vaccine is the best, or you could talk about the latest release of the latest iPhone or whatever. Threading water, I think, is our medium category, and that's a deeper general discussion. So you might be talking about a certain drug, for example, and you might go into a bit of detail about how it works, maybe, if that's what you're interested in. You can go into a bit more scientific discussion without it being too deep, basically, like a research paper. And then we have deep dive category articles, which are academic level discussion articles, basically. So usually these are from scientific papers, and usually there's quite a lot of references in these articles. And this is, for example, if you're talking about maybe a project that you're doing for third year, or you're on placement year, you want to talk about that. Or, for example, if this is just something you're interested in science and you want to talk about it, but you have a lot of references. So yeah, that's the hard difficulty. And here, I think you can see kind of well the sort of categories we do have at the moment, and we're always happy to expand it into different STEM fields. So I think it's just a matter of you telling us what you would like to write about for the month, basically, and we'd be happy to, oblige. And so here you can see some of the other articles that we've, designed and stuff like that. So really cool. Obviously, these are the ones that you can find in the printed versions too. And yeah, it's always interesting to be able to see your article sort of fully designed and stuff like that. So I guess I'll talk about the interviews now. So obviously we have a podcast, and it's just the same name. It's just called ScienceMind. You can find us on Spotify or Apple. I think it's Apple Podcasts as well. We're also on Google Podcasts, so we're on every platform basically. So we've done quite a few interviews in the past with different scientists, and usually most of these have been scientists from the pharmacology department, but we are looking to interview scientists from other sort of mostly from other departments as well, and potentially some famous scientists in the future if possible. And usually we have about 1 or 2 people interviewing the selected professor of choice, for example. And it doesn't have to be a professor either, just if they're like kind of well known in the science field, maybe if they do really interesting research that you want to talk to them about. That's a really cool way to get to know them as well, for example. And yeah, so for people who are interested as well, I'll be putting that in the chat. So basically, people can choose whether they want to do interviews. It's kind of hard finding people who want to do interviews, but usually these are on Microsoft Teams. But now that we've been given access to the Media Suite, we'll be able to have proper professional recording equipment to use. So the podcast will now be sounding incredibly professional. And I'll sort that out with the media coordinator at KCLSU. and we can sort that out. So if they're at King's, it might be quite easy to get them in, and then we can just record the podcast that way. So the editing team. So you can choose as an editor how many articles or which articles that you would like to edit. So a lot of this is just managing your own workload. So the editing lead, Jabari, usually will check in to measure progress, and he can also give you tips and tricks on how to edit articles as well. Usually have about a week to edit and proofread your chosen articles for publishing, which I think is enough time. And usually we do it in a first pass, second pass type technique. So the first pass is literally just checking to make sure that the scientific knowledge is accurate, and then basic grammar, typo, and punctuation errors that might be there. And then the second pass basically it involves basically the writer will send back the article with the corrections in them, and you just basically check for grammar, punctuation, and typos. And once that's done, you can email it to myself. So that's my email in the yellow, or you can send it to the deputy's email. But usually I think I should be free most of the year, so it's fine to send it to me. And then I will send it to the media people, the individual media people who will be designing those articles. And so, yes, that will be done in Canva where, people will be designing those articles. And that just makes it a bit more streamlined, I think. So the media team, you can choose whether you want to design articles or Instagram posts, or you could help out with the podcasting team as well. It's really up to you. So you can choose which articles you'd like to design, or you could design articles for a whole section like biochemistry. And so our media chat team also has a link tree. And so this has a number of video tutorials that I've made, and that will tell you how to design articles. And I'll also make one about how to make Instagram posts at some point. And so for Instagram posts, you can choose to do either a week's load, or you can do a particular section that you would like to design. So maybe you'd like to do the Instagram post for the technology section, for example. So we choose to design everything in Canva. And usually the designers will design the articles and they use these pre-existing templates that we have. And so that makes it quite easy to be able to just replace the text if need be. But if you'd like to go for a more elaborate design, like with the Hercules gene article that we showed you, with the muscles and all that, usually it's a good idea to be able to have an idea of what you would like the article to look like if you have an elaborate design before you put in the text. So that might take in a little bit more work. So here is how we organize things. So on the left, we have the rota sheet, and that basically says exactly who is designing the articles, who the editors for those articles are, and then who the designers for those articles are as well. Magazine pipeline, and this just kind of goes into detail about what it is that we, the process of how we do things, basically. So as I said, obviously we have, the writers will have about 2 weeks to do it. To write their articles. The editors will have about a week to write to edit those articles, and then the media team will have about a week to design those articles as well. And then basically you might be wondering, well, you do a lot of physical prints, don't you? So how does that work? And basically the idea would be that usually throughout the month we don't do a lot of anything on our social medias. So we're quite happy to just use that time to print out the issues from the previous month, and then we basically just promote those and hand those out until they're basically gone. And so basically we'll be handing these out at, well, we won't be, but we'll be having these bins, so these magazine bins that you can find at Guy's campus, maybe Strand campus at some point. We'll have to see how that goes first. And you can basically pick these up in the reception at Guy's campus when we have those ready. And so these rota sheets are usually published. They'll probably be less glamorous because they take quite a while to design as well. But you can kind of see exactly how it is that we end up designing, sorting things out. And we just kind of keep tabs on everyone to make sure that things are done on time. And so these slides will be available for the chat as well. So if you're also looking at us from, maybe you're an external student and you're just looking at, what it is that we do, you can just DM us on Instagram where you found the QR code for the meeting, and you can just DM us about wanting to join, and I'll be putting these updated versions of the pipeline, at least on the right, into the chat, and you can see how we do things. And it's very structured because it needs to be, basically. I guess as a cool thing as well is that we're currently designing the website, as I said before. And on the left, you can kind of see how it's going to look on the website, the different designs that we've got. These will be in a number of different colors. So these are just kind of placeholder colors for now, but obviously they'll be in these colors too. And these will be, just general merch that will help us with printing costs and whatever else that we're trying to look for example. On the right, you can see the deputies hoodie that came in. So we ordered these through Redbubble. So if you'd still like to, for example, purchase a, merchandise before the website goes up, which will take quite a while, we'll be putting the link to those in the chat, in the actual WhatsApp chat. So you can see those if you'd like. And so, yeah. And I should preface that I don't think we'll be able to let you start working on any of the teams for the October issue until you've purchased a KCLSU membership. And the reason is because usually the money will go towards printing cost entirely. And I don't think it's fair that for people who have already purchased the membership that they would have to also be publishing in an issue where others had, could do it for free. So I think that's only fair, and really all of the money that we end up getting goes straight back into the magazine, and usually it goes through the student union as well. So embezzlement isn't really an issue, and they're very strict about that. So if there are any questions, you can DM us on Instagram, and here's the handle, or you can email us at sciencemindmag@gmail.com.